Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to step away from the noise, from the opinions, from the expectations that have been piled on you for so long that you've forgotten what your own voice sounds like. Disappearing doesn't mean you've surrendered.
It doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've reached a point where your soul is asking for something deeper: stillness, clarity, direction in a world that glorifies being constantly seen, constantly active, constantly available. Choosing to disappear can feel ridicule, but it's not weakness. It's wisdom, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give light to others when your own flame is flickering. Recalibrating means you're checking in with your spirit. It means you're taking inventory of what's working in your life and what's draining you.
You're pressing pause on the performance and choosing presence instead. You're no longer asking, what do they want from me, but rather, what do I need from me? This is the season where you get quiet enough to hear your own truth,
where you step back from the people, the places, the routines that once felt safe, but now feel suffocating. It's not abandonment, it's alignment. You're not turning your back on life. You're turning inward to the parts of you that need tending, healing, rebuilding. Recalibrating is a sacred process. It's where you examine the relationships that no longer serve you, the dreams that no longer excite you, the habits that silently sabotage you. It's when you finally stop running on autopilot and start moving with intention. This isn't about disappearing so that people chase you. It's not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about stepping into a space where you're no longer distracted by who the world wants you to be, and you finally have the space to remember who you really are. And the truth is, no one can do that work for you.
The healing, the clarity, the grounding, it all begins when you choose to withdraw, to go inward, to press, resist. You're not losing momentum, you're regaining direction. You're not walking away from your life, you're walking back into it with your eyes wide open.
Disappearing is a declaration that your energy, your attention, and your time are too valuable to keep spending on what doesn't serve your growth. It's choosing depth over distraction, substance over noise, meaning over movement. We live in a world where being alone is often mistaken for being lonely, where silence is seen as emptiness and solitude is seen as a sign that something is wrong. But some of the deepest, most powerful shifts in our lives don't happen in front of crowds or under bright lights.
They happen in the quiet, in the stillness, in the sacred space, where no one is watching and no one is influencing your next move. Isolation strips away the noise, the comparisons, the expectations, the distractions, and leaves you face to face with the most important person in your life, you.
And when you sit with yourself long enough, something starts to happen. You begin to see things you've ignored. You begin to feel things you've suppressed. You begin to notice who you've become and who you mean to be. It is in that isolation that you confront your truth.
Not the version of you that the world expects, but the version that exists beneath the surface. You start to ask different questions. What do I really want? Why am I carrying so much pain? Who am I without the applause, without the validation, without the constant need to be seen? Transformation doesn't come from pleasing people or performing for them. It comes from the uncomfortable, honest work you do in your quiet seasons, the days when you choose to stay in instead of distract yourself, the moments when you feel like breaking, but you breathe through it.
The nights when the silence gets so loud that you finally hear your inner voice again, and that voice, that small, still voice, becomes your compass. It tells you what to release, what to repair, and what to rebuild. It points you toward your healing, your growth, and your evolution.
But it can only be heard in solitude. Only when the world is quiet can the soul speak. Isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. It prepares you for the next level of your life by peeling back the layers of who you think you should be and revealing who you truly are. It gives you time to reflect, to rest, to rediscover what lights you up without anyone else's influence. In that still space, you're not distracted by opinions. You're not shaped by outside pressure. You're finally free to become who you were always meant to be. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes it's a tear, sometimes it's the courage to sit in silence and allow yourself to feel what needs to be felt. Transformation isn't about fixing everything overnight. It's about sitting with the pieces long enough to understand them, to see what broke, what held you together, and what no longer fits where you're going. And that kind of clarity doesn't come from conversation. It comes from isolation.
Peace is not just a feeling, it's a foundation. It's the silent force that holds your spirit steady. When life begins to shake, it's not loud, it doesn't demand attention, and it never begs to be noticed. But without it, everything feels heavy, everything feels chaotic, everything feels like too much. Your peace is the core of your well-being.
It's the space where your clarity lives, where your healing takes root, where your wisdom whispers to you in the quiet moments, and yet it's often the first thing we sacrifice to please others, to stay in toxic environments, to keep up appearances, to avoid conflict. We give it away in pieces. A little to the job that drains us, a little to the relationship that confuses us, a little to the past that still haunts us, until one day we wake up and don't recognize ourselves anymore. That's why protecting your peace is not optional, it's essential.
It means being honest about what disrupts your energy. It means setting boundaries without guilt. It means learning to say no even when your voice shakes. It means letting go of people who only show up when they need something, who question your worth, who dim your light so they can feel brighter.
Peace doesn't mean avoiding all problems. It means choosing not to be consumed by them. It means you don't engage in every argument. You don't chase every apology. You don't explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you.
You don't fight battles that were never yours to carry in the first place to protect. Your peace is to value yourself and not to walk away from chaos. It is to recognize that not every invitation deserves a response, not every message needs a reply, and not every cry for attention is your responsibility to answer, because when you stop protecting your peace, you start betraying yourself, and that betrayal cuts deeper than anything someone else could do to you. You have the right to disconnect, to turn off your phone, to go quiet, to create space between you and the world so you can hear your own thoughts again. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't owe anyone access to your energy if they haven't earned the right to be there. Protecting your peace means choosing stillness over drama, presence over performance, and alignment over approval. It means checking in with yourself before you check in with anyone else. It means refusing to negotiate your mental and emotional well-being in order to keep a seat at a table that was never built for your healing. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, and when you make peace your priority, everything else starts to fall into place. You begin to attract calmness. You begin to value solitude. You begin to recognize that your peace is not a luxury. It's your power. There is a version of transformation that doesn't make it to the timeline, a version of growth that doesn't get likes or applause or praise. It happens in the shadows, in the quiet, unglamorous moments, when you're alone with your thoughts, confronting your truth and choosing to do better for yourself. That's the real glow-up, the kind that can't be measured by status, followers, or validation. This kind of glow-up isn't about aesthetics. It's not just the new hairstyle, the the upgraded wardrobe, or the highlight reel of your life. It's the work you do on the inside, the healing that doesn't come with filters, the discipline that no one sees. The mental battles you win when you choose not to go back to the version of you that you've outgrown. The real glow-up is emotional maturity. It's waking up and choosing peace over drama. It's deciding that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every insult deserves a response. It's understanding your triggers and refusing to let them control your narrative. It's the quiet moments of self-control when you're tempted to return to chaos, but instead you breathe and walk away. It happens in your decisions, the ones you make when no one's watching. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, when you resist the urge to prove yourself to people who are not rooting for you, when you delete the message you wanted to send out of pain or pride, when you stay up late reading, journaling, praying, or planning instead of numbing yourself with distractions, you're glowing up. When you forgive people who will never say sorry, not for them, but for your own freedom, you're glowing up. When you stop chasing closure and start creating it within yourself, you're glowing up. When you stop needing to be seen and start needing to be whole, this kind of transformation is rooted in solitude. It's when you're able to sit in silence and not run from it. When you no longer need an audience to feel worthy. When you stop explaining your process and start trusting it. And yes, its lonely growth often is because the deeper you go into yourself, the fewer people you find around you who can understand the path you're on.
But you don't glow up by being understood. You glow up by understanding yourself. You become the woman, the man, the person you were always meant to be when you stop trying to impress the world and start trying to know the world within you.
You evolve when you stop reacting out of pain and start responding out of power. You elevate when you stop allowing fear to guide your choices and start trusting your own voice. That inner shift, that moment you finally choose yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary.
That's where the glow begins. You won't get a round of applause for those nights you cried and still got up early to push forward. You won't get likes for the times you bit your tongue instead of lashing out. You won't get celebrated for the boundaries you set, the healing you committed to, the habits you changed. But that's the glow-up, that's the foundation. That's where the real light is born, deep within you, away from the noise, far from the spotlight.
We are living in a time where distractions are dressed as necessities, constant notifications, endless scrolling, meaningless conversations, and people pulling you in every direction, all of it keeping you occupied, but none of it helping you evolve. And if you're not careful, you can spend your whole life responding to distractions instead of responding to your destiny. Distractions don't always look like chairs. Sometimes they look like comfort.
They look like old habits, familiar routines, the same people, the same excuses, the same cycles that keep you moving, but never forward. You begin your day with good intentions, but by the time you lay your head down at night, you've given your energy to everything except your purpose.
That's how distraction wins quietly, slowly, consistently. That's why there comes a moment when you must choose to disappear, not in bitterness, not in anger, but in awareness. You disappear to reconnect, to stop living externally and start living intentionally.
You step back not because you're lost, but because you're finally ready to be found by yourself. Disappearing from distractions means reclaiming your time. It means recognizing how often you reach for your phone instead of your goals. It means acknowledging that some conversations drain more than they pour. It means stepping away from anything that numbs your mind and robs your focus, because you can build a meaningful life while your attention is fractured into 1,000 places.
You see, the mind that is overstimulated can't create the heart that is constantly interrupted, can't heal the spirit that is always available to others, can't grow in silence and real transformation, the kind that shifts your character, your habits, your future. It requires isolation.
When you disappear, you make space to think, to breathe, to rebuild. That's where discipling is born, not from pressure, but from clarity. You begin to see what you've been tolerating, what you've been avoiding, and what you've been neglecting within yourself. Discipling is not just about routines. It's about remembering why you started in the first place. It's about showing up for yourself when no one is clapping. It's waking up early because your vision matters more than your comfort. It's saying no even when it's tempting to say yes.
It's doing the work without needing recognition. When you return with discipline, you're no longer moved by every invitation, every distraction, or every emotion. You move with purpose. You manage your time differently. You listen to your intuition more than you listen to opinions.
You make your growth your priority, not your image, not your popularity, but your growth. And here's what happens in that space of discipling. Your standards rise, your boundaries tighten, your energy becomes sacred. You stop negotiating your peace. You stop asking for permission to evolve.
You stop explaining. Your silence. Disappearing isn't the end, it's the refining fire. It's where who you were pretending to be, and return to who you were born to be, grounded, focused, and unshakably committed to your own evolution.
So if your soul has been whispering for rest, if your spirit has been begging for stillness, if you felt the quiet pull to step away from the noise and chaos, honor that disappearing is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not about hiding, it's about healing.
It's about choosing solitude over distraction, peace over performance, purpose over popularity. When you disappear, you don't lose yourself. You find the parts that were buried beneath expectations, noise and constant noise, and when you return, you'll be different.
Calmer, sharper, stronger, quieter, and that silence, that stillness will speak louder than anything you ever had to prove.